My boy is busy helping me today get peppers ready for the freezer. We have all kind of peppers ready. We need to get these chopped up and frozen. What we do is lay them out on a sheet pan in the freezer and flash freeze them individually overnight, and then I put them in the suck and seal bags. I know that's the wrong name, that's not the right name. And then we freeze them individually in portions. As you can see, we got all of our green peppers sliced up, and now we're going to give them a quick rinse and get off any last minute seeds, and we're going to let those drip dry for a little while before we spread those out over some parchment paper on cucumbers. Sheet pans. Not only are we working on green peppers today, we are working on
cucumbers.
Dun, ta -da.
Actually pickles, but they're cucumbers right now.
Pickles. Watch those fingers, buddy. Oh.
Come here.
Be super careful. He's a good helper. Our kitchen's a mess. I guess I'll reclaim it sometime in like October. What do you think?
I bet it's on November.
No, then it'd be time to get ready for holidays. Ugh. Okay, time to get the pot out and start making the brine. My eyeballs are on fire from all these onions. Okay, here's our brine for our pickles. Now, this is not your typical dill pickle brine. This is what I'm using for my bread and butter pickles. It is not from a package. This is a from scratch recipe that I have never tried before. So I could be throwing all of those jars in the garbage. I have no idea because I've never tried this before. However, the reviews I read online were very promising. This is a vinegar, apple cider vinegar mix. It has sugar, celery seed, mustard seed, and turmeric. And then the jars have sweet Vidalia onions and cucumbers. I am doing a cold pack. I guess that's what it's called. The cucumbers are cold, and the mix is going to go in hot, and then I will water bath can it. And that's it. Super easy. If you're interested in this recipe, shoot me a comment and I will get that to you. My liquid has simmered down for about 5 minutes, maybe just a little bit longer. And now we're ready to get that dipped down into our jars, and I will bring you along for just a couple. That's it. We're going to top these off, get the air bubbles out, clean the edges, and then we're going to process them just like we did the spaghetti sauce in a water bath for 10 minutes. It's not hard. We have to make sure that we get the air bubbles out of these because they're up pretty high. We need a 1/2 inch of head space. Once I go pushing these air bubbles out and moving the cucumbers around, I shouldn't have any trouble getting that head space in the tops of these jars. But I'll have to work on that. Any food that's sticking over the 1/2 inch mark, which is on this, I don't know if you can see the markings on the bottom. So any food that's sticking over that will have to come out. Otherwise our jars won't seal well. So we're going to go ahead and finish getting our jars filled up and get our air bubbles knocked out. As you can see, I've gotten all the jars filled with brine. I have made quite the mess. And they all have a 1/2 inch head space. I've checked them. And now I have the water getting really hot so that I can clean all the sticky residue off the tops of the jars by wiping them off before I put on the lids and the rings. As you can see, I've got 3 jars over here that are boiling. This side, not quite boiling yet. I've got my timer going over here for 10 minutes. As soon as that goes off, I'll pull those jars out and set those aside. They'll cool overnight and hopefully seal. I'll get those labeled. We'll take the rings off, put those pickles in the pantry. They'll need to age for 1 month before we eat them. Fingers crossed they taste good because this is a first time recipe. Our timer just went off for this pot here, so we're going to get these moved from here and get them over here where they can start cooling. Won't take long. And if you watched our video yesterday, you'll recall that's the sound you want to hear. As these begin to cool off, there's a little button on top. Let me see if you can see it. There's a little button. You can see that one's raised. And you see that one's indented. It's sealed. And you just want to wait for those to seal. So we'll let these sit for 24 hours and cool off. Once they're cooled, we'll wipe the jars. We take the rings off of them before they're stored. Oh, that one just sealed. And we'll label them. Now I've read, I think if you watched my video yesterday, I'll tell you that I've read you can seal them with the rings on or store them with the rings on, and you can store them with the rings off. Well, I go ahead and take the rings off. That way if for some reason there's a problem with the seal here, oh, that one just sealed right in front of us, then you'll know there's a problem with the seal because the ring is off and that lid will lift up and it'll be visible to the naked eye. So that's why I go ahead and take my rings off. You read up on it, do what you're comfortable doing. I am by no means an expert at canning. Our green peppers have been sitting in the sink and drying out really well. And now what we want to do is spread them out on some cookie sheets on parchment paper and get these in the freezer. And what I like to do is put them in a single layer. It doesn't have to be fancy, but I just kind of spread them out a little bit, give them a little bit of elbow room, and let them freeze overnight. And then I will take these off of the parchment paper and put them in single portion servings. I don't know if I've told you before, but the only person in this house that eats green peppers is my husband. Now, I will eat tricolored peppers, red, orange, yellow, but my husband's the only one that actually eats green. So I will freeze them in just a small portion size. And it makes it easier for me to do it like this so they don't stick together in a big clump. Nobody wants to try to get peppers apart after they've been frozen in big clumps. So this is all we do. I do this with all the peppers. It just makes it easier to put them in the freezer bags. And that's it. Nothing spectacular. And then I will stack the trays like this before I put them in the freezer, so they don't take up as much space, and then just sit them all down in the freezer, and I'll come back and get them tomorrow and put them in the suck and seal bags. Just took all of our peppers out of the freezer. They're all individually frozen. So now we're ready to put them in our FoodSaver bags and get them packaged up in the freezer. I've made my bag, filled it with my frozen peppers, and now I just need to seal it and stick this in the freezer, and it'll be ready for next time we're ready to use it. The bag is sealing right now. You can see that the machine sucked all the air out. The red light just went off, so I can release it. All the air's been removed. This is ready for the freezer, and they will keep for quite a while, nice and fresh. We'll do that with all of our peppers. We did this with our squash, zucchini, broccoli, cauliflower. And if you have a FoodSaver and you're having trouble getting your bag to seal, I would advise that you put your fruits and vegetables in the freezer just long enough for them to freeze on parchment paper, on the sheet pans like we did, and then put it in your FoodSaver bag. When we froze our corn, we put it in the bag and stuck the whole bag open in the freezer overnight just for it to freeze, and then sealed it in the FoodSaver bag. If your food product is wet, it will suck too much moisture into the seal line here and you won't get a good seal. So that is my advice for you if you are having trouble getting your FoodSaver to seal and hold a seal. Have fun putting your food up. Thanks for hanging out with us.